Inaz and the Two Unmarriageable Lovers. A novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. This story is narrated in 4 books. Book 1. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer who may quote brief passages in a review to be printed in a newspaper, magazine, school journal, or university article. This novel is a work of fiction, but the entire story is based on the real love story of 2 unmarriageable lovers. Therefore, all names, characters, places, and incidents are either the product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental. Chapter 16. The Evil Arab Husband. Inaz remained unconscious throughout the night. Even after the Saudi man finished his brutal animalistic rape and left, she continued to be in a comatose state. The wicked man has raped her unconscious body many times. While raping her, he caused profoundly serious cuts and bruises all over her body. Her private parts were copiously bleeding when he quenched his burning lust and went. He sucked and licked her bleeding private parts and bit the nibbles of her swollen breasts like a mad dog sucked and licked the wounds of a corpse. He bit her all over her body, including her mouth, pussy, and big buttocks. Her lips are swollen and bleeding due to his many cannibalistic bites. He is a sexual sadist and cannibal sex deviant. This Arab man has already married and divorced several Saudi women. He is compulsively driven by his hunger for new women, but soon becomes tired of them. As a compulsive sex addict, he treats them like eatable human meat. This obese Arab man loves his meat fresh. Each new female victim will hear him saying to her, "I love your beautiful face and sexy body so much, and I feel like eating one of your breasts." Mohammed bin Satan al-Shamari looks like the kind of man who might eat human flesh if any one of his sex female victims actually cut off one of her breasts and cooked it for him. None of his sex female victims escaped being bitten all over her body while having ritualistic and sadistic sex with him. He is that kind of sexually deviant cannibal. He is a notorious womanizer and scary sex sadist and looks like the devil incarnate. He is not satisfied by raping the virgin pussy of the beautiful and sexy Sudanese bride. He also has sodomized her in her anus twice. He was using Viagra to get his dick to become erected and strong for a longer time. Moreover, alcohol made him take a long time to reach a climax and ejaculate his semen in her pleading vagina and anus each time he repeated his ritualistic rape. While repeatedly was raping her, the evil Saudi man did not bother whether she was alive or dead. He knew no one would come to her rescue because he received the green light from her husband. He was entitled through winning the gambling game to rape her in her bedroom and with the full knowledge of everyone including her lawful Sudanese husband. He did not let his unconscious victim until the rays of the sun of the new morning began to show on the horizon. When he began to rape her, only her Sudanese husband and his Egyptian chauffeur were still inside the living room. All other drunk gamblers left the apartment and returned to their houses and Saudi wives. Osama was dead drunk. The Egyptian chauffeur was the Arab man who blocked the escape attempt of the Sudanese virgin bride Inaz and assisted his Saudi kafil to carry her back to her bed where she got savagely raped and sodomized. The chauffeur was the only one who was not drunk that night. After his evil Saudi kafil had viciously raped the defenseless Sudanese bride, he dropped him back home in his expensive brand-new Mercedes-Benz car. The 2 wicked Arabs did not bother to wake Osama up and inform him about his unconscious wife, who was copiously bleeding from all over her body and dying. During the brutal rape of his wife, the gay and pimp husband was lying drunk on a sofa bed in the living room and snoring as if he lying in hell being tormented for his many sins. Inaz has surfaced out of her long coma in the afternoon of the following day. It is the time when all Muslim men are supposed to go for their compulsory Friday public prayer in the mosques. Every inch of her body is bleeding and giving her excruciating pain. Although she has become conscious, still she could not move a limb of her dormant body. She tried to call for help, but her voice had failed her. With so much difficulty, she has managed to flip her body over. She has fallen flat on the concrete floor. The solid floor has caused her to slip into another coma again. She has broken her nose bone and some of her front teeth. Her mouth is now profusely bleeding again. Inaz can die at any moment, and no one may know her death for a long time. There is no one there to witness her lonely death except her useless husband, who is in deep slumber as if he has been put to sleep through general anesthesia. It has taken Inaz another couple of hours before she regained her consciousness. She began to crawl on her hands and knees. She moved slowly by dragging her damaged body forward. She has somehow managed to crawl out of her bedroom until she reached the living room. Her blood spilled everywhere from her bed until she reached where her husband was sleeping. Inaz has not a single piece of cloth on her mortally injured body. She is completely naked and brutally raped. When she entered the living room, she saw her husband lying half-naked on a sofa. There is a foul odor in the living room. He is still sleeping and snoring loudly as if he is burning in Hades and being tormented by the devil with a pitchfork in his hands. There is a mixture of nasty smells of vomiting, alcohol, tobacco, and urine. The dirty Arab man drank so much alcohol until he peed in his underwear. His mouth has been fully opened and dirty stuff is coming out of it. Hundreds of flies hovering around him. He looks so repulsive and his smell is disgusting. His Arabic beauty and the holy blood of his prophet Muhammad cannot conceal or purify his hideousness. Inaz has managed to reach him and shake him out of his hibernating state. He woke up with a startle and screamed loudly as if he is scared that someone has come to kill him. He then pretended to be shocked to see his Sudanese wife in that miserable condition, fully naked and mortally wounded. "What has happened to you, Inaz?" said Osama in a coarse voice like that of an ogre. "I have been brutally raped last night by a fat Arab man." Inaz has spoken those words in a very faint voice. "Last night I was sober and did not drink alcohol so much. Also, I was awake until the last Saudi man left our apartment. 2 of your evil Arab men had attacked me at night, and one of them had raped me repeatedly inside my bedroom. Why didn't you scream and call me to come for your rescue?" "I did, but you didn't come for my rescue because you were the one who gave our bedroom's key to those 2 Arab thugs. I am going to call the police and expose your wicked deeds as well. You are not my husband anymore. You are such a dirty Sudanese man who sold his wife for money to another Saudi man and allowed him to attack and rape her inside her bedroom. Come on, Inaz. How dare you accuse me of such a nasty accusation? How then those evil men got our bedroom's key, and why you didn't come to rescue me when I shouted and called your name many times? Is this one of the new dramas that you came up with because you want to nail me with this crime of rape? No one among my Saudi friends could dare to touch my wife inside my apartment. If at all you had been raped, then your rapist would be an intruder or burglar who broke in while I was sleeping." "No, that is not true. My rapist is one of your Arab friends and you know him and helped him to come and assault me in my bedroom and rape me in our apartment." "Shut up, Inaz. If you repeat those words again, I will kill you. You must call the police and an ambulance right now. I need immediate medical attention." "No, I am not calling the police. You want to accuse me and send me to jail for such a serious crime. Do you not know for such an evil accusation by my own wife I will be stoned to death in this country? If you are innocent, why do you scare of meeting the police?" "I am not afraid of the police, but I don't want to be involved in a crime that I am innocent of it." "Then call the police if you believe that you are innocent. Can you describe to me the 2 Arab men who had attacked you in our bedroom at night?" "I know them, and I had seen both of them many times before in this apartment." "And who are they?" "I will tell who they are only to the Saudi police authority." "Listen, Inaz, I am not going to allow you to drag me to prison and spoil my name and destroy my life. If you want, I can call a doctor to come and treat you. He is one of my Pakistani friends." "No," Inaz screamed on top of her voice. "You must call the policemen and call them right away." "Okay. Let me first phone all my Arab friends who were here last night and from them ascertain what had happened in my apartment when I fell asleep on the sofa inside this living room. If you don't call the police, I am going to phone them myself. I have said we are not going to inform the police until we know who had assaulted and raped you." Inaz understood that her husband just wants to prevent her from exposing his evil deeds. She became certain that he has a hand in her rape. She suspected that he had sold her to those two wicked Arabs who entered her room, and one of them had brutally raped her. She knows he is gay and cannot have sex with her, and hence he decided to turn her into a prostitute for sale in order to have more extra cash to feed his gambling addiction. Therefore, she ignored his words, crawled towards the phone, and picked the receiver up. Inaz has no idea which number to dial to reach the Riyadh police or the hospital. Her husband ran from his sofa and violently snatched the phone from her hand and pushed her down. After that, he held her legs and dragged her like an animal to her bedroom. While dragging her, Inaz is crying and begging him to stop hurting her. She pleaded with him to stop because she has already many serious injuries all over her raped body. The wicked man has not cared about her serious injuries and her many tears and pleadings. When he brought her to the room in which she got violently and repeatedly raped, he slapped her many times. You want to drag me to jail by falsely accusing me of being a pimp husband who sold you to his Saudi friends. You know that no Sudanese man from a good Arab tribe like me could do such evil to his own wife. I am the son of Arabs and good and brave tribe in Sudan. Osama screamed those false words on the face of his wounded and violently raped wife. You're worse than a pimp. You're a dirty gay who has a husband and practices with him sodomy in your own apartment and in front of your Sudanese wife. You are also an addictive gambler, heavy drunkard, and useless Sudanese man. Shut up, Inaz. If you don't stop insulting me, I will cut your tongue. I am not scared of you any longer. You're a coward man. You also are a stigma to the Sudanese people in Saudi Arabia. You're a bad name to our Arab tribe. Shut up, dirty bitch. Close your fucking mouth before I kill you. I am not going to shut up. Listen, Osama, I swear by my father and my Arab tribe that I am going to expose your disgusting sodomy, your Saudi gay husband, and your evil Arab rapist friends in this country and in Sudan too. Okay, my evil and rebellious wife Inaz, I am going to discipline you with my big stick. You have to remain being locked up in this room until you have become disciplined, tamed, and stopped accusing me of being a pimp husband who had sold his wife for money, and also, he allowed her to be raped in his own apartment by his Saudi friends. After speaking his last threats, Osama used a big stick and battered his brutally raped and mortally wounded Sudanese wife until she lost her consciousness again. Chapter 17. The Vicious Married Life. Ever since that day, the so-called rebellious Sudanese wife Inaz imprisoned inside her bedroom. Her husband locks her up in his apartment whenever he goes out to his work. Every time he goes out of his apartment, Osama uses a big padlock and locks the outside door. The imprisoned Inaz has no means of contacting the outside world. Her husband disconnected the landline phone. He is using his phone, which he carries with him everywhere he goes. Inaz knows she can break the window glass and jump out and run away. But she also understands that if she takes such a foolish step, the consequences will be dire. She knows the Islamic Sharia in Saudi Arabia does not allow the woman to step out of her house without being accompanied by her husband or a male muharram. A muharram is any close relative that a woman can neither marry nor have sex with him, such as her father, brother, grandfather, or grown-up son. So, if Inaz runs away, she will definitely fall into the hands of the ruthless Saudi correctional police officers. Besides severely flogging her, such a rebellious woman will be gang-raped by those righteous policemen of Allah. And if she survived their cruel beating and raping, she will be returned to her husband's place while she is restrained in chains. Even if she managed somehow to reach the Riyadh International Airport, Inaz will not be allowed to fly anywhere without the permission of her husband. Moreover, her angry Sudanese husband had taken her passport and burned it. He does not give her a single Saudi rial. He is feeding her like a dangerous female prisoner in a jail. So, the Sudanese wife has become helpless prey in the hands of a wicked Arab husband. Thus far, the Sudanese wife Inaz lived for 4 months with her gay husband in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In addition, she spent 2 weeks imprisoned in his apartment, as if she is a dangerous wild female creature that needs to be tamed. He repeatedly threatened to kill her and often scourged her with his stick. He even bought a whip and several times slashed her delicate body with it. It seemed that the so-called rebellious Sudanese wife Inaz has left her handsome and highly educated Arab husband Osama with no choice except to keep her away from the outside world. If his imprisoned wife is allowed to call the Saudi police or contact her family in Sudan or reach the Sudanese embassy in Riyadh, Osama expected that his life will be ruined. So, he is either to lock her up indefinitely or kill her through beating and starvation. Those are the only two open options for him to hide his crime and shame and save his neck from the sword of the executioner or being stoned to death. Meanwhile, Osama continued his social life with his bad Saudi friends. As before, every weekend some of those Saudi thugs show up and spend the whole night drinking, smoking, and gambling. Also, Osama's male lover is a regular visitor to the apartment. And whenever he comes, as a gay husband, he fulfills his matrimonial duty and sodomizes his Sudanese wife Osama. After that fateful night in which his wife's virginity was violently stolen, Osama gambled with the honor of his wife and won the bet twice. One time, he gambled his wife against a Toyota Corolla, and he won the car. The second time, he gambled the virtue of his wife against 2,000 Saudi Arabian riyals, and he won another gambling game too. 2,000 is equivalent to $533. After the first rapist, Mohammed bin al-Shamari, robbed the virginity of Inaz, every Saudi man wanted to get the lovely Sudanese bride too. But because the sexy bride had already lost her virginity, her value had decreased. For those Arab rapists, the woman's virginity is more precious than silver and gold. Her first rapist refused to gamble again with his expensive brand-new Mercedes-Benz car. Osama begged him to do so, but he refused. At first, he tried to convince Osama to allow him to have sex with his wife again and again because he won her as his sex slave girl, but the pimp's husband said it was a one-time deal. Osama's decision was collectively backed up by other gamblers. They all said, if at all Mr. Mohammed bin al-Shamar desires to sleep again with the lovely Sudanese bride, then he has to gamble by his expensive car. The Saudi rapist refused to agree to a second gambling game. Now his expensive car became more valuable to him than the pussy of the lovely Sudanese wife who lost her virginity. Nonetheless, the Arab husband is extremely happy when he won the Toyota Corolla. Even though it is an old Japanese car, still Osama is on the moon when he received its key from the loser. On the third weekend, his luck failed him again. This time, the handsome and highly educated Arab husband has lost his sexy Sudanese bride in a gambling game and allowed her to be raped against 1,000 Saudi riyals, which equivalent to $266. The winner is another notorious womanizer. He has 2 wives and 2 maidservants. One of the maidservants is an Arab girl from Syria and the other one is a Pakistani. They are all available for his sexual satisfaction, but this thug nothing can satisfy him except the hellfire. Before them, he used to have a 19-year-old Indian maidservant and an 18-year-old Filipino maidservant. Every 2 to 3 years, he changes his maidservants like changing his cars. As every rich Arab man wants every now and then to get the latest model car, this Saudi thug wants to own the new pussy of a foreign maidservant. For him, to marry a third Saudi brand new virgin bride, he must pay at least 500,000 riyals as dowry to her father. But a foreign maidservant from a poor country is for him like a free-of-charge sex slave. From day one, when the foreign maidservant arrives in one of his mansions, he rapes her against her wish, and thereafter she will remain his sex slave, under his pick and call, locked up in one of his 2 residences. This Saudi guy will never allow any of his Saudi friends to step a foot in any one of his 2 opulent mansions. All Saudi men love to visit their foreign friends' houses and apartments and see their wives and daughters, but they do not permit any one of those foreigners to come to their houses and view their totem female animals. So, all those sex perverts, Saudi friends of Osama, have never invited him to come and drink even a cup of tea or coffee in their mansions. When Osama's lovely bride arrived from Sudan, the number of those lustful Saudis was double. Every Saudi man saw her, passed the word to at least 2 other Arab men. For 4 months, those lustful Saudi guys were watching Inaz and lusting after her beautiful face and large buttocks. Whenever she served them food or drink, each Arab man wanted to jump over her and rape her in front of her gay husband. They used to smell her perfumes of the Sudanese dilka and khamra like dogs smelling a bitch in heat. But the fear of being slain in honor killing by her Sudanese husband prevented them from raping her. This went on until the fateful night in which her husband put her virtue on the gambling table and lost her to that wicked rapist, who is called Mohammed bin Satan al-Shamari. So, now the cat out of the bag, therefore, every Arab man wants to sleep with the sexy Sudanese bride. Once again, Inaz has been assaulted at night and raped inside her bedroom. She has to endure the same agonizing torture. This time, however, she has been truthfully informed by her Saudi rapist that he won her from her Sudanese husband through gambling. When he was confronted by his outraged wife, Osama refused to speak out the truth. He said he had spent most of the night drinking alcohol and smoking bango and having fun with his Saudi husband. Yet, again and again, Inaz was repeatedly raped by those Saudi thugs until finally, she became pregnant. Therefore, her pregnancy is rather good news than bad news for her gay husband. Now, Osama can claim that he is the one who impregnated her. In that case, the handsome Arab husband thought, his Sudanese wife Inaz cannot accuse him of being gay and having a Saudi husband and involved with him in disgusting sodomy. Neither her family nor his parents in Sudan are going to believe her words. No Sudanese father and mother are going to admit that their son is gay even if they know it is the truth. Also, no family will believe that their Arab son has sold his Sudanese wife through gambling to other Saudi men until she became pregnant through multiple rapes. In this case, the truth will be closer to fiction. Moreover, the marriage of Inaz with her African lover Tariq in India may be used against her. Her in-laws may find out about her love affair and marriage in Pune and say she created this unbelievable story of having an Arab gay husband who sold her as a prostitute to his Saudi friends in Riyadh, who subjected her to many rapes until she became pregnant. No Saudi or Sudanese court will issue an order for a DNA test to determine the paternity of her yet-to-be-born baby. Meanwhile, the abused and brutally and repeatedly raped Sudanese bride found herself being caught up in a vicious married life without any avenue of escape. She understood that her miserable condition and dire situation in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is worse than when she and her African boyfriend Tariq used to be attacked and battered by the Sudanese Muslim terrorist students in India. Chapter 18. The Tomboy. The Sudanese embassy in Riyadh City is one of the most crowded embassies in the Middle East. There are over 1 million Sudanese foreign workers employed by their Saudi kafils. The words kafil and makful correctly can be translated as master and his slave. The kafil can do whatever he wants to do to his makful. He can beat him, rapes her, and sends him or her to jail. Also, he can kick them out of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia with or without giving a reason to the Saudi police and immigration authorities. Therefore, the kafil has the same authority and rights the Muslim husband has on his wife, the father on his daughter, and the brother over his sister. There is something in the Sharia law called Nizam al-Walaya, which means the guardianship system. In the West, guardianship is a crucial legal tool that allows one person or entity to make decisions for other persons in the event that they become mentally or physically disabled. But the guardianship system in a Muslim country gives the man absolute control over his women, whether they are his wives, his daughters, or his sisters. The guardianship system treats the women as if they are incapacitated or disabled persons. It also treats them as female minors or little children. According to that system, the woman can do nothing without the obtained permission of her husband, father, or brother. She cannot go out of the house without the permission and company of her husband or her wali, or a male muharram. Without his consent, she can neither get married, nor register herself in a school or university, nor obtain a passport, nor travel out of the country. She is totally and completely under her wali's authority and control. Having explained that inhumane, uncivilized, bestial, barbarous, malicious, and enslaving system of controlling women, let us proceed with the sad life story of the Sudanese wife Inaz Ahmed Silla and her handsome and highly educated Arab husband Osama Hashim Silla. On a particular Monday morning, a Sudanese girl has been caught while she is dressing up like a man. She tried to fool the authority at the Sudanese embassy by pretending to be a Sudanese boy who lost his passport and hence demanded reissue of a new passport. The girl managed to travel a long distance from her husband's apartment to the Sudanese embassy without being recognized and arrested by the Saudi policeman. By doing so, that rebellious wife has committed many crimes, which all are punishable by the draconian Islamic Sharia law. Firstly, she went out of her house without the knowledge and permission of her lawful husband. Secondly, she traveled out of her residence without the company of her husband or a male muharram. Thirdly, she appeared in public without putting on her hijab, abaya, or niqab. Fourth, instead, she put on a male's jeans and t-shirt. Fifth, she fooled the Saudi police authorities by assuming the identity of a male. Sixth, she also lied to the Sudanese embassy's officials by claiming to be an unmarried boy, when in reality she is a married woman who has not been divorced by her husband. Seventh, she lied about her Sudanese passport. When the Sudanese embassy contacted her husband, they came to know that all her official documents are with him. Eighth, she tried to fly from Riyadh to Khartoum without the permission of her Sudanese husband. Ninth, she lied about her husband by accusing him of being gay and a wife and has a Saudi male lover who is his Arab husband. 10th, she said her husband is also an addictive gambler, heavy drunkard, and pimp who used to gamble by her honor with other Saudi gamblers, drunkards, notorious lovers of women, and homosexuals. 11th, she claimed that she had been imprisoned for 2 months by her husband inside his apartment and beat her, starved her, and tortured her day and night. 12th, she also said she had been raped by 7 of her husband's Saudi friends with his knowledge and consent. 13th, she claimed that those 7 Saudi men raped her separately after they won her from her husband through gambling. Moreover, she claimed to have been impregnated by one of her 7 rapists. 14th, she further claimed that she stayed 6 months with her Sudanese husband without the two having sex even once. She said her husband is a sexually impotent man. For that reason, she lived with him in his apartment and slept with him on the same bed for a half-year as a brother and a sister do. 15th, she claimed she had caught her husband red-handed while he was having sodomy with his Saudi boyfriend. 16th, she said her husband had admitted to her that he had conducted a gay marriage with his Saudi boyfriend. According to her, during that alleged gay wedding her husband was the bride, and his Saudi boyfriend was the groom. 17th, as she claimed, her Sudanese husband until today is the wife who has a Saudi husband who visits him often in his apartment and practices sodomy with him. Nonetheless, when he was contacted by the Sudanese embassy, her husband had strongly denied all those abominable accusations. With those serious charges, the Sudanese embassy contacted the Riyadh police and handed to them the runaway wife. The Riyadh police took the rebellious Sudanese wife into custody and prepared a long list of charges, which reached 37 offenses. For each and every one of those offenses, there is a severe corporal punishment by the Islamic Sharia law, which has been drawn from the Holy Quran of Allah and the blessed Sunnah of His infallible Prophet Muhammad. Chapter 19. The reason for the arrest of the tomboy wife. In accordance, the rebellious Sudanese wife Inaz Ahmed Sulla has been arrested with profoundly serious offenses, and if she gets condemned by the Riyadh Sharia court, which is likely to happen, she will definitely either be beheaded by the sword of the executioner or stoned to death by the faithful Muslim men on a Friday afternoon. If she miraculously escaped one of those cruel punishments, she will be scourged to death. Before her detention, the brutally raped Sudanese bride Inaz remained under house arrest for 2 months. During this period, she tried to convince her handsome and highly educated Arab husband, who is working as a senior accountant in a big company in Riyadh, to set her free and send her back to her family in Khartoum. She promised him that she will not expose his evils to her Sudanese parents and his Arab family upon her return to her fatherland. When her wicked husband refused to release her and continued to imprison her, beat her, starve her, and gamble by her honor, she decided to run away from him. She understood that if she did not escape from his dungeon, her wicked Arab husband would either kill her through beating or starvation. Before killing her, she also concluded that her pimp husband would continue to gamble with her honor and turn her into an unpaid sex slave. Inaz knew that she will not run away as a girl without exposing herself to the brutality and cruel gang rape of the ruthless Saudi policeman. So, she decided to disguise herself under a fake identity. While her husband was away at work, she cut her long hair and made it into a boy-cut hairstyle. She then put on her husband's t-shirt and jeans trouser. But she knew her husband has a smaller body than her big body. Therefore, his dress could not fully conceal her feminine body. To hide her big breasts, she used her husband's long turban and folded it 3 times around her chest and backside of her shoulders. In that way, she reduced the size of her big breasts. Therefore, when it came to her large buttocks, she could not figure out any trick to reduce their size. Of course, she avoided applying any makeup. She then put on one of her husband's white hats. Those white hats and long turbans her husband uses in his daily prayers. Although her Arab husband is gay who has a husband, a heavy drunkard, an addicted gambler, a chain smoker, and a notorious pimp, he never misses his Friday public prayer in the mosque. He also always prays 5 times a day to his Allah. Moreover, during the holy month of Ramadan, he fasts for 30 days. The only time he missed his Friday public prayer was the noontime that followed the Black Thursday night, in which his lovely Sudanese virgin bride Inaz was brutally raped by her first Saudi rapist. On that fateful night, Osama drank so much alcohol to subside the feeling of guilt of delivering his Sudanese virgin bride, who is his female cousin, to another Arab man to be raped inside his apartment and in his bedroom. But after that, he never bothered again about his wife's virtue and honor when he lost her in gambling games to other Saudi men. Before undertaking her risky escape, Inaz stole some stuff from her husband's bag. She decided to sell those few things at the market and use the money to travel by the local transportation to the Sudanese embassy. Her initial plan was not included to lodge a complaint against her gay husband at their Sudanese embassy. She just wanted to request to be issued her passport and supplying her with an emergency traveling document. Also, she decided to request the Sudanese embassy to give her an air return ticket to Khartoum. While she was studying in India, Inaz heard many Sudanese students lost their passports or became penniless and sold them. When they went to the Sudanese embassy in New Delhi and explained their problems, they got free return tickets and emergency travel documents. So, Inaz expected as a Sudanese citizen, she would get the same help from her embassy in the capital of Saudi Arabia. Then, Inaz broke her window's glass with a big hammer and jumped down from the 2nd floor of the building. Luckily, she did neither broke her legs nor injured her body through the jump from a high place. After that, the runaway Sudanese wife walked on foot for 2 hours until she reached a market. She then bartered her few items for cash in a Pakistani shop. She knew the Pakistani man had cheated her by offering her a few riyals for items worth hundreds of riyals. Among the items she sold were her husband's expensive watch and her golden wedding ring. Her husband had taken all her other costly jewelry, such as hand bangles, necklaces, earrings, and leg bracelets. Those are in pure gold. Her jewelry is worth thousands of US dollars. But her useless husband lost all of them in his gambling games. Inaz traveled for 1 hour by bus until she reached her embassy. No one had recognized her during her 3 hours moving in public without her husband or muharram. Everyone saw her mistook her for a handsome boy. Even inside her embassy, no one had suspected that she was not a boy. Then Inaz filled the necessary forms and stated her problem. Her application had been received and taken inside for a senior officer to approve it. Inaz would never have been recognized if she did not make one single mistake. While waiting for her application to be approved, she felt the need to go to the toilet. She got up from her chair and went to one of the Sudanese male employees and asked him to show her the ladies' washroom. This was her first foolish mistake. She forgot that she was dressed up as a boy and pretending to be a male. Even the Sudanese male employee she talked to him did not notice the discrepancy in her request. He just pointed in the direction to the ladies' washroom and resumed his work. Unfortunately, Inaz went to the women's washroom. When she walked in, she found one young Sudanese girl holding her dress up to her waist with one hand, and her other hand was trying to adjust her black underwear. The girl made the loudest shout that one could ever make when she saw a boy was coming towards her. The girl mistook Inaz for a male who came to rape her. It was too late when Inaz realized her fatal mistake. 6 security guards rushed in for the girl's rescue. They were 4 females and 2 males who responded immediately and entered the ladies' washroom. They all thought that Inaz was a boy who came to rape the pretty young Sudanese girl. Shortly after, Inaz was hit on her head by a baton and subdued. At the same time, other employees and workers arrived at the crime scene. Also, many of the visitors came to see what had happened inside the ladies' washroom. It was the Sudanese male employee who directed Inaz to the ladies' washroom who cast the first doubt on her masculine identity. He told the security guards that the apprehended Sudanese boy had asked him to show him the ladies' washroom. He then screened Inaz from head to toe for a while before he declared her a female and not a male. The big buttocks of the apprehended boy made him believe that he was a girl and not a boy. Immediately, the 4 female guards sent everybody out of the ladies' washroom and took Inaz inside a large toilet room and ordered her to remove all her clothes, including her underwear. At first, Inaz refused to obey their orders. A huge female security guard who is from a Nigerian background grabbed her shirt and about to tear it out of her body like a lioness tearing the flesh of a small helpless deer. Inaz knew she had been exposed and hence pleaded guilty. Nonetheless, the 4 ladies compelled her to strip fully naked before them. When they saw her black pubic hair covering her vagina and she has big breasts and has no penis, they placed her under arrest. Later on, when she was questioned by some senior Sudanese official of the embassy, Inaz revealed her entire problem with her evil husband from the day she arrived in his apartment until the time she ran away from him. Unfortunately, being a woman in a male-dominated society like Saudi Arabia, her confessions had been used against her. When her Sudanese husband was questioned by the Riyadh police, Osama Hashim Salah strongly denied all the allegations against him. He accused his wife of purposely lying because she is in love with her Sudanese neighbor Tariq Haroun Al-Ajabo. He even claimed to have caught her red-handed while she was talking to her African lover on the phone. He added that his wife confessed to him that she still loves her African boyfriend and wants to be with him as a husband and a wife. She also told him that her father had forced her to marry him against her wish. For that reason, she demanded a divorce, but he refused to divorce her. Moreover, for quite a long time, his wife refused to allow him to end their marriage. And her continuous denial led him eventually to take by force what Allah and his Prophet had granted to him. For a long time, he tried to discipline her through his stick and whip and make her submit to his authority as her lawful husband, but he couldn't succeed. So, her handsome Arab husband claimed to have impregnated her against her will. He did it because he wanted her to submit to his authority and recognize him as her lawful husband. No matter what he had done to her, Inaz continued to rebel against him. She threatened him that, if he would not give her a divorce and send her back to Sudan, she would accuse him that he is gay who has a Saudi husband. She also said she would accuse him of being an addictive drunkard, a gambler, and a pimp. She even said she would say he gambled with her honor and allowed some of his Saudi friends who won her in gambling games to rape her in his apartment and in his bedroom. Moreover, Osama said that when he did not yield to her demands and threats, his wife stole his money and other expensive stuff from his bags and escaped from his apartment while he was at work. Before she fled, she cut her hair and put on his shirt, trouser, and hat and dressed up like a tomboy and vanished. Chapter 20. A Sudanese wife with 2 husbands. The legal case of the rebellious Sudanese wife Inaz became a profoundly serious crime when a couple of Sudanese students who studied with her in India came forward and exposed her sinful life while she was studying medicine at Pune University. Those 2 Sudanese are among those terrorist students who used to act as the righteous police of Allah in India. They had recently completed their overseas studies and got graduated and found good employment in Riyadh city. Through their testimonies, the Riyadh police came to know that Inaz used to live and have sex with her Sudanese boyfriend Tariq without marriage. When all the Sudanese students protested about their shameful adulterous relation, the Emir of the Muslim Brotherhood in Pune city compelled the adulterer Tariq and the adulteress Inaz to get married according to the sacred book of the Quran and the blessed Sunnah of the infallible Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, may the prayers and peace of Allah be upon him. When her Sudanese father heard about the marriage of his Arab daughter with the African boy Tariq, he became extremely outraged. He then came to India and took his Arab daughter and returned to Khartoum. Before they flew back to Sudan, the father went to the Emir and had a big fight with him. He then tore the marriage contract of his daughter with her husband Tariq and threw it on the face of the Emir. Without divorcing his daughter from her first husband, the father gave her in marriage to her cousin who is working as a senior accountant in Saudi Arabia. If the Sharia court in Riyadh finds proof that Inaz got married to another man while she is still bound by another marriage contract, then it will pass the stoning sentence against her. Accordingly, the statements of those two Sudanese who were former classmates of Inaz have changed the course of her trial. Now the police began to focus more on the last accusation of marrying two men at the same time. Her legal case leaked to the media. Every newspaper in the capital of Saudi Arabia published it under the sensational headline, "A Sudanese wife with two husbands." Her handsome Arab husband Osama Hashim Sulla has become astonished when he read in the newspaper the police report about the sinful life and marriage of his wife Inaz with the African boyfriend when she was studying medicine in India. Before that, he heard through some of his friends in Khartoum that his fiancée Inaz was having a secret love affair with the son of her rich neighbors, who is known as Tariq Harun al-Ajabo. Being gay and has a male lover who got married to him in gay marriage, as a groom and a bride, such information had never bothered him at that time. On the contrary, it brought a ray of hope to him. He thought Inaz would break their engagement and instead marry her African lover Tariq, who is the son of their wealthy neighbor Harun al-Ajabo. But now it seemed that her father, the proud Sudanese lawyer Mr. Ahmed Sulla, had fooled his brother Mr. Hashim Sulla and conducted the marriage of his already married daughter to his handsome and highly educated son Osama, who is having a gainful good working position in Saudi Arabia. So, her gay husband concluded that when their marriage got conducted in the biggest mosque in Khartoum, Inaz was not a virgin bride. Now Osama understood that he has enough ammunition in his hands to silence his wicked and adulterous wife Inaz forever. Therefore, he concluded that, by running away from him, his rebellious wife Inaz has condemned herself rather than exposed his sinful life in Saudi Arabia. He can deny under oath all her accusations in the Sharia court, and she has no way of proving that he gambled by her honor and allowed his 7 Saudi friends to rape her in his apartment and on his bed, and with his knowledge and consent. Also, she has no evidence to provide in court that he is gay and has a Saudi husband who practices sodomy with him. Furthermore, she will not be able to prove that he had not slept with her even though she lived under his roof for 6 months. On the other hand, her pregnancy can refute her abominable accusations that her husband is gay, a sexually impotent man, and a pimp who sold her as a free-of-charge prostitute to other Saudi men. The court will assume her husband is the father of her yet-to-be-born baby. He knows there is no order that will be issued for a DNA test in Saudi Arabia if Inaz asked the Sharia court to determine the paternity of her baby. Lastly, Osama knew and understood that even her parents and his family would not believe her words against him. In addition, the testimony of a woman in the Sharia court equals half of the testimony of a man. Besides his testimony, Osama knows that he can bring more than 7 men in court to bear witness in his favor. Those are the 7 Saudi men who raped Inaz in her bedroom with the full knowledge of her Sudanese husband. In addition, his Saudi husband can also testify in his favor because he also has been accused by Inaz of being gay. At any rate, before the trial is conducted in the Riyadh Sharia court, the proud Sudanese lawyer, Mr. Ahmed Sulla, got disturbing news about his daughter's arrest and the serious legal charges that laid against her. This time, he neither heard the bad news through the media nor via the police of Riyadh city. It is his own brother, the famous Sudanese medical doctor, Mr. Hashim Silla, who came to his office and broke the shocking news to his proud brother. With trembling hands and heart beating like an African drum, Mr. Ahmed Silla read the newspaper, which has been handed to him by Mr. Hashim Silla. For a few seconds, the proud lawyer's spirit started to depart from his perspiring body and descend downwards, heading to Hades. He is now in an ontological state between the living and the dead. If his brother did not catch him in time, he would have fallen from his chair and broken his neck and dropped dead. Then, the successful and famous medical doctor, Mr. Hashim Silla, handed a glass of water to his dying brother and asked him to drink it. After gulping down the water, his spirit returned back to his lifeless body. But he is still not in a position to utter a word. His body is now burning in a high fever and sweating as if he is inside a furnace or in hellfire. The famous medical doctor, Mr. Hashim Silla, has many things to say, but he is scared his brother may have a major heart attack and die in front of him. So, he waited for the proud Sudanese lawyer, Mr. Ahmed Silla, to overcome the shock first before any confrontation is to be made from his side. The angry Sudanese doctor came to challenge and confronted the proud Sudanese lawyer. But now, both their anger and pride disappeared. The evil acts of their handsome and highly educated son and the beautiful Arab daughter abroad have turned their pride and prejudice into shame and fear and filled their mouths with dust and covered their gray hairs with ashes. My brother, Mr. Ahmed Silla, spoke in a faint voice, begging for mercy rather than challenge. My brother Hashim, the Sudanese lawyer, repeated his request. We must go to the good man Mr. Harun Alajabo and beg him and convince him to tell his beloved son Tariq to save the life of my only daughter Inaz. Tariq has to give a statement under oath that he had divorced his wife Inaz Ahmed Silla before she had married her cousin Osama Hashim Silla. That is the only way my daughter's life can be saved from those Saudi thugs who want to behead her or stone her to death. So, that means it is true that your daughter Inaz had married the black fur Tariq, the son of the Karabi man Harun Alajabo. And without divorcing her from him, you fooled me and made me contracted her in marriage to my highly educated son Osama, who is a university graduate and has the highest paid job in Saudi Arabia. No, that is a lie. My daughter Inaz Ahmed Silla has never married any man except her handsome and highly educated cousin, Osama Hashim Silla, the son of Arabs and good tribe in Sudan. You have just asked me to go and request the Karabi son to divorce your daughter. My brother Hashim, do you think I would give my beautiful Arab daughter who is studying medicine in the best university in India in marriage to a boy whose father is from the Fur tribe and his mother from the Nuba Mountains? I don't think you could do that. A beautiful Arab daughter like Inaz Ahmed Silla, who has a father from the Sajia tribe and her mother from the Jalia tribe and has the holy blood of our gracious Prophet Muhammad flowing in her veins, could marry a slave who looks like an ugly black crow. No, I can't believe such an Arab girl could do such an abomination. Even if I heard her saying it and she swore to me by the Holy Quran, I would not believe her words. A pure Arab girl like Inaz will kill herself if her parents forced her to marry such a black slave who has a father from the Fur and his mother is a Nobawiya. May Allah bless you, my dear brother Hashim. The so-called marriage of my Arab daughter to that African black crow was a sham marriage. It was not marriage at all. A Karabi leader of the Sudanese Muslim Brotherhood in India, who also from the Fur tribe, he and other terrorist Sudanese students had forced my daughter to marry against her wish the son of my former Karabi neighbor, Harun Alajabo. That wicked and ugly Fur and Karabi leader had appointed himself a wali to my daughter and got her married by force to Tariq Harun Alajabo. Why did he do that? My brother Hashim, it is a long story. It was an evil conspiracy plotted against my beloved Arab daughter by a dirty Fur man who used to study with her at the same Pune University in India. It was done with the intention of humiliating a successful medical female student, an Arab Sudanese girl, and destroying her good reputation. Nonetheless, when I heard about it, I immediately rushed to India, and I had almost killed my daughter in Pune city. My Arab wife Siham had a major heart attack when she came to know about that pseudo-marriage of her beautiful Arab daughter with the black African boy Tariq Harun Alajabo. Well, I believe you, my brother, Ahmed. Now we have to join hands and find a quick solution to save our son and daughter from those fanatic Saudi judges before they condemn them to death and behead or stone them both. Yes, we must do that and do it fast. We must go, both of us, to the wealthy business tycoon Mr. Haroon Al-Ajabo and request him to convince his good son Tariq to give us in writing a statement that he had divorced my beloved daughter Anaz before she had married your good son Osama. Yes, we must go to them right away.